Hello and welcome back to the Arrow After Show right here on thestream.tv. I am your host, Jamie Philbrook. We got a great episode to talk about tonight. But first, I want to remind you guys that you can actually communicate with us during the show. All you need to do is go to Twitter, use the hashtag ArrowAS, and we'll take any of your questions, comments, thoughts during the show. Anything that we can address, we'd love to hear from you. You can also comment on our Facebook page or right on our YouTube page. Now, before we talk about this exciting episode, I want to introduce you to my team Arrow. Right on my right-hand side, David Moore.
What's up, people? It's your boy David, real cool dude. Holla, back at it again.
Nice, and then we have a new recruit this week, Ray Hallridge.
Hey, nice to meet you, everybody. Hopefully I don't ruin the feng shui that these guys have
Don't
created.
suck.
No pressure at all.
No pressure, no pressure. You're good, you're good, you're good. So we have a really cool episode to talk about tonight. Season 5, Episode 11, Second Chances, which actually tells us a lot about what we can expect from this episode tonight. As we saw last week, had a little introduction at the end of the episode to the gang looking for a new Black Canary, and that's what we have tonight. So her name is Tina. The search for Black Canary. What did we think, David?
I was very happy with how this episode played out. Just, you know, where we go with the team and just, you know, and even the flashback stuff and how it's starting to all come together. They really took their time with this episode. They treated it well, and I was happy. Very happy.
Ray, what do you think? How did you feel about the recruiting of the new Black Canary?
Right, I actually really liked it, and a little bit more than I thought I was going to, because they've done these recruitment type storylines before and finding the new guy, we got to bring him in. But what was great about this was, like David referenced, is there was so much character development within this larger story, which I thought was really brought the whole season in a whole together. Yeah. And it kept with the dark feel, which we've been getting, which I really enjoy, the darker feel of the season. But then it made the whole chase a lot more worthwhile, and you saw the changes in all of the characters.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought it was really cool because, I mean, you know, when I first heard, like, last week, oh, we're going to look for a new Black Canary, I'm like, come on, Black Canary already, enough of this. But I thought it was really cool, and what they did that was so great was they really tied it in to the first season of The Flash, and in doing so, tied it into really the structure of all 4 of the Arrowverse shows. But what we learn is that Tina was a cop in Central City PD. She was undercover with I guess is a arms dealer, drug dealer?
Drug dealer.
It was a drug dealer.
Drug dealer.
And so, and then of course the drug dealer discovers that she's a cop, has captured her partner, threatens to kill him right at the time that the accelerator explosion, the particle accelerator, season 1 of The Flash, that explodes. She gets her canary cry. The villain gets a power as well, we learn throughout the episode. And I thought it did a really good job of sort of tying it into the Arrowverse. What did you think?
Yeah, no, that was brilliant. Doing the callbacks. I thought that it was really cool too. The way it opened, the show opening. It was so brutal, and like you felt for this character, you know.
Well, and we started with a flashback. We started with 3 years, basically in the pilot of Flash.
Yeah, but what I appreciated about the flashback was that
the flashback. Did you do that
on purpose? Flashback. What I appreciated was that it tied directly in with this universe as a whole, not just the world of Arrow.
Absolutely.
You know, so that was something I really appreciated about it. And again, just the brutality of it, her getting knocked around, the blood, and just, you know, the taunting back and forth. It really set the tone for where we were about to go with this whole episode.
Yeah, absolutely. I really did like the way, like David was saying, the way it sort of almost mirrored what was going on with Tina, almost mirrored what was going on with the rest of our team Arrow. How did you feel about that?
Yeah, no, exactly. I thought that the way they put that story together was that it made sense. It made sense to how the team was changing and developing, and the way Oliver Queen has now become a leader, and therefore when he sees other people who have gone through things like himself, gone through hell, like Tina had to when she was undercover for years. And then to open up that scene, getting the hell beaten out of her. And then to see her partner get killed right in front of her, who was also her lover.
Right, that's revealed later in the episode, but absolutely.
But you know, that type of pain for Oliver to reach out and say, hey, I understand, and now I want you to be a part of what we're trying to do.
Right.
And there was an interesting thing that Oliver says to Tina at one point, sort of referencing Prometheus and referencing that there's this villain after me who wants to teach me a lesson.
Yeah.
And I think I've learned from this lesson,
Right.
and I want to show him that by helping you, which I thought was really cool.
And piggybacking on what both of you guys are saying, that's Oliver has grown to be, like you said, a leader, but also a teacher. And I think that is phenomenal. It's not just, okay, guys, I'm going to be nice so that you guys do what I say. It's like, no, we're all going to learn, we're all going to grow together. And that just makes the group feel that much more connected and personal.
And that's taken time, and I think the writers have done a really good job of taking that time this season.
Yeah.
I mean, we brought in a new group of recruits, and now we've gone, like just like you said, we've gone through all that, and with Felicity's help, because we know at the first part of the season there were some learning curves. Oliver wasn't really getting along with the new recruits, but that really has, like you said, come around to where he is becoming a teacher and a mentor to them, which is really great. There was some really great stuff in this episode also with the recruits and what they were dealing with, and Oliver as well, and what really Oliver, Wild Dog, and
Mr. Terrific.
Was it Mr. Terrific?
Mr. Terrific.
Curtis. Were kind of how Tina's story was affecting them. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so one of the things that I really noticed and really appreciated is how we've been focusing on a lot of what's been happening in Mr. Terrific's personal world. Right. And because we dealt with that a little bit earlier in the season with Wild Dog. And now, I mean, it's really cool to see how, like we mentioned last week, how Wild Dog and Mr. Terrific have become like bromance over here, you know? But to see him, you know, we dealt with his divorce. Right. We dealt with him last week trying to find his place. And
on
like
the team, within the team.
Because like he's like, I'm not a brawler, I'm getting my butt kicked, what am I here for? Is this even worth it? But now we see this episode, he's finding his place. He is almost the Caitlyn, if you will, of Team Arrow.
Oh, interesting.
Because, you know, you got Felicity at the base, handle everything there at home, but in the field, he's operating the tech. He's helping them build and create tech that they used last week. They used this week as well because it was necessary. And, you know, rigging things and MacGyvering, he has found his stride, and it's helping him. And in him getting better, he's helping pass that on to Wild Dog. And Wild Dog's having moments too. It's really... the character development makes me happy.
Yeah, no, we love it when there's good character development. There really was, especially with those characters in the show. I mean, I know they're obviously supporting characters to Oliver. You know, we know it's called Arrow. Oliver's the star. But, you know, the show and all of the Arrowverse shows do a really good job of bringing those supporting characters up and really filling them out as the season goes on. There was something that actually we saw Mr. Terrific say directly to Wild Dog in this sort of bonding scene they had. I want to quote it. This team is about finding second chances. That's what Mr. Terrific says to Wild Dog.
Title of the episode.
Second chances. But Ray, what did you think about that? It was a really nice moment the two characters had.
Yeah, you know, I think that goes further with those two and the difference between this group and this team than the originals. And because the originals came in, they had already had experience. Felicity was also already a world-class hacker. You know, Diggle had already a military experience. You know, so he had done all these things, and Arrow was Arrow, and you know, he's coming into this thing, and so they found a way to work together and intermingle. But this is a group that's discovering things. They're younger. They're learning things about themselves. They're learning how to work as a team and how to really be a vigilante and how to really pursue their own goals and why they're vigilantes. Why are they doing what they're doing? And that relationship, that conversation was a great example of two people on the same type of journey, but coming from different places.
It explained it well. It kind of tied in a bow for the audience.
Right, and I'm glad that you mentioned things about themselves, because it was really cool when Mr. Terrific called out and said dealing with psychos, and he had to stop himself, and Wild Dog's like, wait, you talking about me? I thought he was about to go off. He was about to go hood on him. We was going to have a brawl. But he took a moment, reflecting, is like, yeah, that was me, you know, but he knows where he is now and how he's grown. So it's like, it's so watching.
Yeah, it was really cool to kind of to see the self-awareness that even the characters are having within the show.
And that's what's great. That's an extra wrinkle that I think this new cast and new group of people have brought to the stories. I think that's what the writers are really taking advantage of. Like we now can do more stories about people developing and getting older versus people reacting to things. Yeah, they're reacting to things, but they're also growing and changing.
Right.
And it's just a really great opportunity for the writers who I think are really trying to take as full advantage of it as possible.
Absolutely.
With this story.
So we have another subplot this episode with our Arrow team. It has to do with John, who we know is still in military prison, working with Adrian, trying to figure out a way to get him out of there. And Felicity really steps up in this episode, actually shows some shades of old Felicity.
The hacktivist.
Yeah, the hacktivist. So, and a lot is actually revealed and developed, I think, that we're going to see further in the season with Felicity in this episode. And at the very end, John is exonerated and he gets out. So can we talk a little bit about Felicity's role in John's freedom?
First of all, I love that John got his freedom in Black History Month. What's up?
Yes!
Chocolate, bam. Her taking this this connection that she made with the other hacker,
right? Who was we were referencing her as Felicity Jr. Yeah, just like Felicity.
It's almost exactly like.
She meets this other hacker online who has some information that she might free John, and that's how they meet.
And it was kind of sketchy because not only is it like what is the black site or whatever, she's like a fangirling over her, so it's kind of like, what am I about to walk into?
Which I thought was really fun. That was a fun way of, because we were expecting it to be very dark and looming, you know, deep throat type of person meeting them. And it was like, oh, I'm your biggest fan. I love you.
You're the greatest ever.
Which is and it was so great to see Felicity beaming because of course she loves to hear that.
Right.
But then, you know, discovering that they have their own circle that they call Helix.
Right.
Where are we going with that? And then they have their own magic key.
Right. Basically, this flash drive, Pandora.
Where are we going with that?
Which I earlier referenced is actually the name of a character from DC Comics who had a large role in Flashpoint in the comic books. So I think there might have been just like a little nod there. I don't think we're going to see too much more crossover with that.
Yeah.
But,
so, you know, who's to say where we go? Because, you know, like, that's a lot of power in Felicity's hands, and you know we kind of saw her face when she opened Pandora's box.
Right at the very end of the episode, she opens it up and reveal.
It didn't make me happy. You know, she looked like it was, you know, what is it? Absolute power corrupts. Absolutely. And I have a feeling. This is my theory. Fan theory.
Let's hear it.
What if Felicity becomes an enemy?
Look at that.
Well, I mean, evil Felicity, the goth hacker, hacktivist Felicity that we saw in her flashbacks, I think last season.
That sounds like what Cisco would end up calling her. She's the hacktivist.
She's hacktivist.
That's her villain name.
That's her villain name, the hacktivist.
You're welcome, Internet.
What did you think about this storyline and where it might go, Ray?
You know, I really enjoyed what they've done since Felicity first came. Obviously, she's a fan favorite. I think there's no question there. Yeah. But I think there's also gotten to the point where it's like we know what to expect from Felicity. Right. Really. And she's always kind of been on that same, like, it's Felicity. She's either the beacon of hope, you know, giving Oliver that pep talk he needs, and she's really never had to go dark. And I think that would be very interesting, like you said. She has this data cache, which has I think they made up petabytes or something like that. Like it wasn't even terabytes, it was beyond terabytes worth of information. And just she has access to it. Yes, she can free her friends, but what else can she do with it? Because they made reference to how she used to act, what she used to do. And they don't do that on accident. They do that with a purpose every time. So,
and now with this power, what is she going to do with it? And that's
funny, we got someone on the live chat, Slim41 who gave the Emperor's quote from Star Wars, unlimited power. I love that. That's so cool. Thank you, Slim41.
I love that. Boom. I love interacting.
Yeah, and definitely keep up with us at the live chat. If you're watching along, get in on the conversation. I might just, you know, bring something up, get you in on this. So
you never know.
Type away.
You never know. Maybe Felicity or another hacktivist will have a comment about the episode too.
That would be cool and creepy.
What's interesting is you know, it's interesting. I'm wondering if they're playing the long game, right? The writers, like, we're introducing this aspect now. Is it going to turn her bad? And really, I hope in my heart of hearts that Felicity will always be on Team Arrow. She'll always be a good guy. But it's going to be super interesting to see her struggle with that conflict.
Yep.
And I think that's really what makes you enjoy these characters so much. In this season, I'll reference back a little bit to the Arrow episode of Aliens Invasion.
Yes.
Which they're seeing characters struggle is such a big deal. And I think where a show can lose itself, and maybe the last few seasons, there was a point where it's like Oliver was the only one struggling. You know, with and it was like he's the only one going through stuff. He's always struggling. I don't know how dark and brooding can I be? I'm the only one who could save this city. It's so hard. I mean, we get it.
Right.
But really, like, there's a point where you want to see other characters go through things because that's what makes you appreciate them. And Felicity, as great of a character she's been written as, and she's had great stuff, I would love to see her struggle with something like that where she has to make a choice, like I can do this or do this, but this might cost me something.
We had a little bit of that, I think, at the end of last season with Damon Dark and the missiles and all, and her having to make that sort of decision, and definitely we've seen her deal with that this season.
Yes.
But this is on a larger scale with bigger, you know,
I think
results.
this is a little different because she didn't have last time it was like, you didn't have a choice. It was so quick.
Right.
Like this now she has it, and she's looking at it, and she's thinking about it. It's like,
And I'm noticing a trend across the shows. It almost feels, I mentioned this with the Flash episode this week.
Yes, tell me.
We're getting situations where it looks like we might have friends fighting. Because in Flash, they're setting up potentially Wally being the savior, but he's gonna have to surpass Barry to do that.
Right.
What's gonna happen when that happens? And then here, it's looking like we already saw last week even, the direct
Mom
conflict.
and Dad had a fight last week. Yep.
Right.
Now, like, I referenced this before, I'm feeling we're gonna get some Anakin Obi-Wan stuff going down.
You know, that'll be interesting, and I love the idea of seeing, and this was great in that moment you referenced from last week, seeing Felicity and Oliver, Mom and Dad, really fight, and seeing Felicity really take her rightful role as the right-hand person to Oliver Queen. There was also some big revelations and a really big, important flashback subplot tonight that I want to make sure we get to. So we had their flashbacks tonight, and as we know, the flashbacks are going to be ending at the end of the season, and I feel like this was the first episode where we really, really got close to seeing that end game, that light at the end of the tunnel, and where this is going. So as we saw last week, Talia al Ghul has been introduced. So all the flashbacks in this episode really were Talia and Oliver sort of communicating and figuring out she wants something from Oliver, Oliver wants something from her, they're going to work together, and then she ends up, we find out that one of the mentors that Oliver had on the island, Yao Fei, Shadow's father, he was her former student, which is probably how she found out about Oliver. She ends up giving him the Green Arrow suit, which is the season 1 suit.
Yes.
We see the season 1 suit.
The whole
So what did we think? Ray, I'll start with you. What did you think of this stuff?
I love bringing Talia in. And in terms of just the DC world, that's a major thing. That's a big character. In the history of DC as a whole, in the history of Batman as we know, and that's a big deal. And I thought she played it so well.
The actress was excellent.
Very good.
Really
I mean,
great.
tip of the hat to everyone across the board.
Yeah.
Everyone acting was phenomenal. The girl
I thought Tina, yes, the actress
Tina,
playing Tina and the actress playing Talia al Ghul were both terrific. I agree.
Sold it. And there's the thing that I noticed. It's the thing I noticed too with like a lot of times with when you have to be a badass, sometimes it's overly telegraphed and it's like I'm intentionally acting like this, you know. But it was organic. It's just like if you met them on the street, you would think that's how they behave.
Well, especially with Talia too. Like we know Talia al Ghul. Like it's almost like that's already there. It's like being Superman. You don't have to play the suit.
Right.
The suit does all the work. Right. I feel like Talia's character kind of does, and the actress was smart enough to realize this. Does the work. I mean, she's been set up in this world. Even beyond, if you know the comic books, she's been set up in the Arrowverse. And so I just thought that was really nice the way she kind of calmly played into it.
And I was wondering when that was going to happen because they made reference to her in Legends.
Yes.
Yep.
When they went back in time and met Ra's al Ghul.
Yep.
And this was his daughter Talia. And
When
I said,
she was a young warthog.
When she was exactly. So I was like, great. Sooner or later she's going to show up, and have her show up in this way. Now it connects him even more with the League of Assassins.
Yes,
and why that became such a major plot point later in I guess earlier in the seasons and stuff. So and then for them to take it, they go on this mission. And which developed one of the better action scenes of this
my
season.
gosh.
Yeah,
was
great
so
scene.
good.
Yeah.
Yo, Oliver became John Wick.
It was
so dope.
It was so
cool. And
Yes.
it was so great.
It was great because we don't see Oliver. I mean, we don't see Oliver use a gun.
Right.
Oliver uses bows and arrows,
Yeah.
but this Oliver is not bow and arrow ready
Not
yet.
yet.
It's Talia doing the bows and
he
arrows.
even made a
and
reference to
like you
that.
said, John Wick. He's going boom, 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 boom,
In
boom.
fact, he even calls out Talia. He says, we're going into a fortress. You're going to use a bow and arrow.
Right,
And
right.
she just scoffs at him. I thought that beautiful irony.
And you know what was really... I'm sorry, go ahead.
No,
go ahead.
it's those little things that the writers put in and that I really enjoy and that I think you need to do to make a show strong. I really like the writing of the Arrow season. There's a lot of great points, and what they're doing is going back and doing that dark stuff. But there are also some funny one-liners where you're kind of like little things, like between Arrow and Wild Dog.
Right.
It's so funny, these little moments.
They've hit a
between them.
really good stride this season. I know a lot of fans were kind of worried coming off of season 3 and 4.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I really feel like they're back in form. I mean, this may be... I love season 2, but... I mean, we'll see. It's not over yet, but
We'll
I
see.
think it could rival season 2 as being one of the best seasons. I mean, just so far, what
I'm
we've
very
seen.
happy with it so
Yeah.
far. Very happy with it. Because even I thought the first episode back from the mid-season for Flash was kind of, it was safe.
Right.
It was safe. But
Right.
from the jump coming back in off the holiday, Arrow has been like,
Black Siren. Let's
here
get
it
right
is.
to it. And now
Take
we
it.
got a new one.
You're gonna
Now we
like
got
it.
Talia. Yeah, absolutely. No, they're really
Yeah.
hitting it hard. And what's also interesting is these flashbacks the rest of this season, the next, I don't know, 10, 12 episodes we have left, in seeing Talia's character grow with Oliver, really mentor him. I'm assuming he's going to go to Ra's al Ghul, and he's going to meet Ra's al Ghul. We haven't heard any casting announcements about that actor coming back yet. But I'm assuming that we will see the culmination of the Bravda and the Russian storyline, the Constantine storyline, and really how Oliver becomes that guy with the long beard that's on the island at the in the very opening
first
moments of
episode.
the pilot.
Yeah.
Speaking of flashbacks, I want to shout out to the folks at Twitter. Michael Chow at Michael Chow TV. Thank you for watching. Thank you for getting in the convo. He just wanted to make point something out about the flashback with Tina at the beginning of the episode when they're watching the news. Linda Park.
Yes, I
is
thought
there
that was
on
her.
screen. Yeah, so they threw back
again,
to
like
Linda
the
Park.
Arrowverse really coming all together. It's great when they do that. So there were a couple of big reveals in this episode and a cool cameo.
Yeah.
And I want to be able to get to those.
Yeah.
So let's discuss the reveal first. And the reveal was that at the end of the episode, Tina decides that she's going to join Team Arrow. She goes to see Mayor Queen, talks to him about it, and then she has a little secret she has to tell and reveal that her real name is actually Dinah Drake.
Boom.
Which
Big
as
deal.
Which, as we know,
Big deal.
is actually the name of the current Black Canary in the New 52,
Yes.
Right.
and also the original name of the Earth 2 Black Canary from the golden age of DC Comics. So,
Throwback.
David, what do we think about bringing it full circle, really, with the Canaries?
They take such good care of the material. They know what's existed, they know what the fans want, and they deliver. I was very satisfied. I was kind of actually nervous. I'm like, well, maybe they're just, they have the liberty to be able to do something new. Okay.
Right.
But they delivered. They brought what we wanted. Nerd satisfied.
Ray, what did you think?
I'll say this: you can't have everything because she's not blonde. And by the way,
But Black Canary wears a wig, so that's
Exactly.
okay.
We'll get to that.
That's even mentioned on the show,
It
actually.
is,
Yeah.
and which I think, and by the way, the actress who plays Tina Boland, or Dinah
Yes,
is
Dinah.
Juliana Harkaway.
Yeah, and
Well
she was
done.
great. She was
so
terrific.
good,
Well done.
and
Yeah.
she is so good. And I thought that that matched the street smarts of the character really well. Obviously, with the Black Canary and Arrow, that's a big connection. That's a big relationship in the DC universe for them to be together. So from the very beginning, it's like I was like, okay, I know this isn't the actual Black Canary. Maybe they'll reference it.
But maybe
at
it
some
is.
point. But no,
I mean,
now
that's-
this, now
yeah.
Dina, now they've gone to that name, like that
Right.
name, like oh,
Right.
okay, this is that name. Will
Right.
they? Now in my head. Are they going to get together? Is that going to be a thing?
I'm so glad, as a lifelong Green Arrow fan of the comic books, I am so glad that they did this because they didn't have to.
Yeah.
And like you said, I think they did it, one, to honor the character from the comic books, two, to honor the fans. I would have been a little disappointed if there wasn't at least eventually a reveal that, because who's Tina Bolin, right?
Right.
Like, what is that? And you know, actually, after going through the Evelyn Sharp thing, where she was kind of replaced Black Canary and going through, it's like, I don't want another made-up character.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, and as we all know, as Arrow fans, there's been a lot of complaints over the years about the way Black Canary has been introduced, and it was
Right.
slow for Laurel to, we called her Laurel, not Dinah, and slow for her
Yeah.
to become Black Canary and do that. But this was so great because now we really got to have our cake and eat it too.
Yes.
And I think it was so good for the fans to get to see that. And I'm really excited about this character. I think she could be the real Black Canary. She could be the Black Canary we've always wanted.
Yeah.
I mean, she's badass. The actress is great. And, you know, in a perfect world, I'd like to see the Arrow series end with Oliver and a Black Canary being together. So
Right.
if it's the new Dinah as opposed to Laurel, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
So that was very exciting.
And she's a good, like just the way she attacked that character, I thought
Yeah.
was great. It was aggressive. It
Yeah.
was angry. It was street, and
Yeah.
very much. And because full circle, and we talked a little bit about this with Felicity and her meeting Felicity Jr. and kind
Right.
of seeing her path. Oliver's kind of doing the same thing in meeting with Dinah. It's like, this is how I was. This is who I once was.
And there was a lot of great reflection in this episode.
Yeah.
All the characters, with what they were going through, could then reflect on what they'd gone through the past, what the other
Right.
characters were going through. That was really great. So the cameo, I want to make sure we just mention it, and
Yeah.
it was wait for the pun, a quick cameo. But the Flash, basically, Oliver needs to call the chief of police over in Central City, get a little intel
always laugh at
on
him.
Tina.
His facial hair is always different.
It's
Every
always
time we
nice
see
when
that
he pops up. He pops every once in a while. And so basically he's on the phone with him, and he's like, how do I know this is the Arrow? I don't know who you are. And then basically we don't even see Grant Gustin. We just see the red streak kind of go through the office and put a little Post-it on his computer that says, he's legit.
Yeah.
Deal with this guy.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I thought it was a nice tie-in. You know, we were talking about how Flash last night did a little Supergirl
Yeah,
kind
it was
of
really clever how they just
clever
boom,
mini
pop in.
crossover, right?
Right.
I like this. I like the
beautiful.
tying in of the universes. What do you think?
I mean, that is crucial to what they're doing here, and you know, being able to do these mega crossover events. But I like how they're just kind of pepper, like what that guy Salt Bay that they keep doing the pictures of. They're just kind of throwing a little salt in it to remind you that, hey, we're all connected, not
Yeah.
heavy-handed, but just, hey, oh, here we go, we're here.
No,
Oh,
it's,
here we
you
go,
know,
we're
you're
here.
right, it's
I
not
love that.
heavy-handed.
I love that.
It's very subtle.
Feels
it fits where
it
we
feels
can
organic.
do it.
Yeah.
It's great. It's great, and I think it's really important for these shows. And again, it rewards the audience for sticking with. You know, that's 4 hours a week of television you're committing
Yeah,
to. So
right.
that's a commitment. It's a kind of a payoff to the fans, and I think it really unites these shows together. What was your reaction?
No,
Ray?
I really enjoy the way that CW is trying to put this all together, and I think in a lot of ways, a lot of other people who are trying to put together those similar universes can learn something from that in terms of television.
Right.
Because it's not heavy-handed. It's subtle enough. You
Right.
get it. You know, you get these little tidbits, and it's kind of cool. You're like, oh, wow, that's cool. I love The Flash or Legends, and you see these moments that touch on each other. And sometimes you make these connections that are far away. The way CW is doing it, I really can appreciate because it's making sense.
Yes.
It makes sense, of course. Not every time a big issue happens in Star City is he going to give a call to the Flash.
Right.
Right.
Because that's just not who Arrow is.
Right.
But in terms of this character, she was a Central PD officer. Go make a call.
Right, it totally makes sense.
It makes
it's
sense.
not out of the blue.
Exactly, and that's what I appreciate the most is when it actually makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then it also makes sense for you to hear about these other things going on in other cities because they're right there.
And
they
that's
know
good
each other.
writing, and that's good storytelling.
Yeah.
And that's why we love watching these shows.
Yep.
I could talk Arrow all night long, but we don't have the time. We're out of time tonight.
Already, wow.
Right, yeah.
I want to thank the crew tonight, David Moore.
Yes, yes. Hello, everyone. Catch me here. I'm here often, and also catch me on YouTube. Real Cool Dude, movie reviews and other shenanigans and chocolatey goodness.
All right, and our new recruit, Ray Holdridge.
Hey, you can find me online on Twitter at RayDallas67. Also, just do Ray Holdridge on Instagram. I'm the brown one. Look for that guy.
And I would like to give a good shout out to our great friend Lance Osfresser. Lance runs these incredible Facebook pages. Our Facebook page, which is DC TV Universe Crew. He also has an amazing Arrow page, so please check those out. We want to thank Lance for all he does for us. We really appreciate it. With that, I am Jamie Philbrick. We will see you next week right here on the Arrow After Show on thestream.tv.
Peace.
Adios.